Hey everybody, I'm Anmar, and this is a podcast that chronicles the incredible stories of the businesses you know and love and the entrepreneurs behind them. In today's episode, we're going to learn how a 9-to-5 working couple quit their jobs at a marketing agency and Apple to pursue a business idea, generating multiple six figures in revenue after a little under 2 short years. So picture Tom and Alex, your average couple living out of a 1-bedroom apartment in Melbourne, Australia. Tom works in customer service at Apple, and Alex works in a marketing and SEO agency. At the end of the workday, they both feel exhausted. Alex begins looking for a way to handle what she describes as self-inflicted burnout, which in turn made it very difficult for her to be productive at all at work, and even led to a bad case of gastritis for Alex, an inflammation of the stomach lining that causes incessant bouts of stomach pain, nausea, and vomiting. And so after making the decision to place her physical and mental well-being as the highest priority, she learns that journaling is a really good way to go about doing that. She's quite open to the idea, but what is she to write about every day? Her thoughts, feelings, ambitions? It turns out that there are quite a few planners out there on the market that tell you exactly what to write every single day. But the ones that help you put your tasks in order don't really do much for your physical health. And the planners that enable you to take incredibly detailed care of your meal plans, well, they don't really help you organize the pursuit of your goals and ambitions. It seemed like there wasn't a great all-in-one solution designed for the entrepreneurial type who also values taking care of their mental and physical well-being. Alex and Tom thought that it might be a good idea to create a planner that did this themselves. They were, of course, in the middle of Alex's sickness period, which presumably took up a lot of their free time. But when Alex was in her recovery period, Tom turned to her and said, "Hey, maybe we should take a look at that planner idea." And that's how Saint Belford was born. This was early on in 2017, and it took about 4 to 6 weeks of brainstorming to really convince them that the planner was a business idea worth pursuing. But even after that, neither Tom nor Alex had any experience manufacturing and selling a physical product. And that's where a lot of entrepreneurs find themselves, with an idea that could work theoretically, but not much of a clue as to how they can pull it off. I asked Tom about the first steps he and Alex took after coming up with the idea for a planner.
Yeah, it's a great question. So the one advantage we had was we had a deadline. Because if we wanted to do this and make a 2018 edition, 2018 was around the corner. So we had to get cracking in terms of designs and whatnot. But the first step was really, really spending a good 4 to 6 weeks brainstorming and coming up with all the things that could have gone wrong, all the things that could go right, how we could market this, what it's going to cost, just working out the raw numbers. And
was that done on just Google or talking to people you know, or?
It's a good question. We definitely got costs and figures online. But in terms of just workshopping and brainstorming, we used a lot of blogs and just read a lot of other business stories about how they come up with their concepts. And it was really just figuring out stuff like worst case scenario, like what happens if we don't sell a single one? What happens if we sell out completely? Just coming up with all the scenarios we could think of before we even started. And then weighing up those pros and cons. And so that process took, as I mentioned, 4 to 6 weeks. And from there we were like, okay, let's do it.
Their first round of production was for 1,000 copies of the first iteration of their planner called Curation, but there wasn't exactly a crowd of people waiting for them to launch. In fact, nobody knew about Saint Belford when the first batch of diaries were ready to ship. So how did Tom and Alex sell them? It started off like most businesses with friends and family.
So we started very, very organically through family and friends, basically. So we reached out to everyone on our immediate network, which I think is a great way to begin. So, I mean, the easiest people to contact are the people who you know and who trust you already, because trust is a big thing when it comes to business. So, and I mean, even the great thing about friends and family is even if they're not totally into the product, they're still going to support you anyway. So,
right. And so that's something I wanted to ask you, because it would seem, in sort of just by way of, I guess, common sense, that the customers who or the people who might purchase based on relationship, like friends or family, might not be long-term customers for the business. But is there a sort of mentality converse to that might say that it's a good idea for another reason that we might not be considering?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea just for your confidence for starters. And it's a good idea for your cash flow as well. Because, I mean, if you're going to not sell to someone because they're not going to buy again next year, I don't think that's a great strategy. I think if they're going to buy now and you can leverage that sale, why not, you know?
Yeah,
absolutely.
And
so we ended up selling 1,000 diaries our first year, and maybe 100 of those, maybe less, might have been family and friends. But it's that first step of selling to your family and friends and getting the ball rolling. Because I know, obviously, we're chatting because you heard me on Noah Kagan's podcast, and one thing Noah says is, how do you get your first sale? And that first sale is really a psychological switch. It's like, holy shit, I just made money. And anyone who uses like Shopify or another app, and they hear that cha-ching go off for the first time, you'll never forget that moment.
Right.
So our first sale was a good friend of mine. He bought it for his partner for Christmas, and this was in October or something like that. So yeah, really leveraging your family and friends for your first few sales, just to get your confidence up, just to get the ball rolling, just to see those figures online. And then you can go from there as well, because you've got money in the bank. And even though, you're still paying off your initial costs and whatnot, you can reinvest that money then into paid advertising or whatnot.
And so all in all, it costed you guys about $15,000, your entire life savings at the time to start this business. Firstly, can you share with us how that $15,000 broke down into materials, designers, and paid advertising like you just mentioned, and any other expenses?
Yeah, sure. So one thing we did is used as many of our friends as possible. So if your friends have skills, use them. So our designer is a close friend of Alex's, and she designs the whole diary front to back, basically. So the beauty of that is that doesn't cost us a lot of money. So her designs might have been, I can't remember exactly the figure, but it was minimal. It might have been $1,000 or $2,000 for the designs. The majority of that went into the cost of production for the actual physical planners.
Mm-hmm.
And we did very, very little paid advertising for the first year. For one, we didn't really know how to do it. And two, we used our friends as well, who were Alex's ex-colleagues, who had a boutique marketing agency. We paid them a little bit of money just to help with some SEO type stuff. We paid a little bit for our website design, and that's about it, man. It was very, very minimal to begin with. I don't like the idea of going into debt,
Sure.
especially when you don't have a proven concept. So our idea was always to use our cash flow and not go into debt.
Sure. And do you think if that number would have been bigger from the outset, it might have deterred you from starting?
Yeah, it potentially could have, because 15,000, I guess it depends where you are in your life, but for us, it was a lot of money. And
Sure.
But it was the perfect amount in terms of we could make it back again in a year if we were working full time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if everything failed, we just have to put a year in, and we could probably get back to that where we were. So if it was a bigger number, yeah, it definitely would have deterred us.
And so in the first, we're talking about the expense of $15,000 here, which seemed like a lot at the time because it was your guys' entire life savings. But in the first year, you made a little over 3 times that initial investment. How did you feel?
Blown away, probably. It's the best way to explain it. I still remember hitting $10,000, and that was a pivotal moment for us. We were like, whoa, we just hit, 5 figures? And yeah, it was pretty crazy. It sneaks up on you as well. So our selling season is between October and whenever we sell out, basically, which is usually January or February. That year it was March or April, but It felt great, dude. It felt like we were really onto something. It felt surreal in terms of you hear all these stories about all these startups failing and how you never turn a profit in your first year and all this kind of thing. And
Yeah.
technically we didn't turn a profit, but we made all of our money back plus a bit more, which was really, really, it's a confidence booster, you know.
Yeah.
It gives you enough confidence to do it again next year. And that was the biggest thing. We were in this from the beginning. We said we were in this for the long term, and this wasn't about a get rich quick thing or anything like that.
Right.
It was really really good for our self confidence. Really good just to say that we've sold 1,000 diaries just from a marketing point of view as well.
Right. And that's been a big part of this podcast for the past couple of episodes is different people. I like asking these entrepreneurs from companies, big and small in different verticals, different industries, just what's your opinion on the passion for the project, or what's your opinion on loving the journey as opposed to a desired result? And almost unanimously, they believe that without the love for the journey itself or for the mission you're trying to accomplish, it becomes very easy to quit in hard times. Do you agree with that?
100%. Absolutely. I mean, I still read a lot of e-commerce forums and those kind of things. And I see a lot of people out there selling random drop shipping things from China. And I think a lot of these products, they really don't have the passion for. And that's when it's really easy to quit. I mean, if you just want to start a business just for the sake of starting a business and the product doesn't really matter, I think it's going to be quite easy to throw in the towel when the going gets tough, because the going is going to get tough. And if you don't have a why behind what you're doing, it's going to be a pretty tough road forward. So for us, we really like our products, and some people might think that us saying that we love our product or us saying our product is really good might come across as a bit cocky. But if you don't think your product is really good, then I don't know what you're doing trying
Why
to sell
put it
a
out
product.
there? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Since then, revenues have become well into the six figures. I asked Tom, knowing what he knows from building Saint Belford to the multiple six-figure stage, if he could go back to that initial launch, what he would do differently. He said that he would focus on building an Instagram following a lot sooner. A lot of companies have target markets that hang out in different areas of the internet, and so it's incredibly important to find out where your target consumer spends time and to be there, Tom says. Another interesting piece of knowledge I picked up from Tom in the interview was about what constitutes a quote-unquote good product. Most advice out there calls for lots of market research, maybe a focus group or two, and things along those lines. For Alex and Tom, though, they just scratched their own itch.
Initially, we designed the product specifically for Alex. So it was filling what she needed. And I guess on top of that, we layered a couple of things that we couldn't find in other similar products, if that makes sense. So step one was initially designing the perfect product for Alex. Step two was incorporating a couple of things into this product, which we couldn't find in something similar out there. And that was basically it, dude. It wasn't too complicated. We did spend a lot of time thinking about the features of the product, because in terms of a physical planner, something like Saint Belford does, it's really featured based, and there's a big difference between buying our planner and buying your general Monday to Sunday diary from the local store. So it was really about what can we incorporate into this which would make it so different and so unique. And a lot of that was brainstorming what cool apps are trending at the moment. What features can we use which they have, which we can put into this? What are some other things that are appealing to us? We have a feature called Your Queue, which is weekly challenges and weekly prompts, weekly comfort zone challenges. And we love doing these ourselves, we thought it'd be a great idea if we put them into the planner because they're based on self-care and they're based on getting yourself out of your comfort zone. And another thing was Alex loves planning meals and planning her week in advance in terms of what we're going to eat and what we're going to purchase from the supermarket. So maybe we put a weekly meal planner in there. And so it was just brainstorming all these different ideas of how we can make this product the perfect one for her, as well as something unique that's on the market as well.
So, Tom, this is one I'm really excited about asking. Your approach to email marketing is arguably the biggest contributor to your revenue alongside Instagram. Can you tell me a little bit about your VIP list and how you use that to generate sales?
Yeah, sure. So I go onto websites and I never sign up to a newsletter. I'm not sure if you're the same, but
Absolutely.
I'm just like, I don't want more junk in my inbox, which is totally fair enough. And so we didn't want to go with the approach of a newsletter. We wanted to go the approach of a VIP list. And to get on that list is free. And if you're on that list, we will reward you with discounts. We'll reward you with blog posts and lots of other different things. So we came up with the idea of a VIP list just because it would be a bit different and everyone likes to be a VIP, right? So that was the first approach. And then we did a monthly giveaway to grow our subscribers. And a lot of this was based on traffic coming in. And after they've had a bit of a look around, a pop-up will say, hey, if you'd like to win one of our planners, just join our VIP list. And yeah, it became really, really popular. And it was a huge chunk of the pie in terms of our success was our email marketing.
Something else that Tom sees as a huge part of why Saint Belford is successful is their care for the customer beyond the point of sale. They publish Instagram content and blog posts constantly to help their customers reach their goals through encouragement and inspiration, and they even donate to various causes as well. But how big of a role does that play in the success of their company?
It's absolutely everything, dude. So I came from a background of working in customer service. So, and I was working at Apple, and one of the things they drill into you is like the customer is the highest priority. And we've really taken that through to Saint Belford as well. Even if customer inquiries or customer concerns, or if any customer has issues, like that is the absolute highest priority for whatever we're working on. And so our customer success is also going to be like a higher priority now this year as well. We're really trying to channel that. So while we have some off time, we try to communicate with our customers via Instagram, via stories, via face-to-face, and really help them on their journey. So it's all for, like it's one thing to sell a product to a customer, but if they don't use it and don't have success with it, there's going to be a very small chance they're going to come back and support you again. And if we're selling a planner to a customer, we really want them to get the best out of it as well, because there's no point us producing it and there's no point them buying it if they're not actually going to use it. So that's the challenge at the moment. It's really how can we help our customers succeed? But in terms of the customer service during the sale period, yes, that's definitely the highest priority.
Here's another great piece of information for aspiring entrepreneurs as well. Saint Belford entered a fairly crowded market of planners and journals without a whole lot of visible innovation. Most people are generally brand loyal and won't switch from what they currently use unless there's an overwhelming reason to do so. Tom and Alex knew that their product was better than what existed on the market, but how did they overcome this and convince people to try their planners? A big part of it was a really, really good return policy.
I was reading a lot of marketing books, and it kept coming up that the better your return policy, the more success you're going to have with your sales. And it was super scary at the start to have a really good return policy, which customers could take advantage of. So for those who don't know, our return policy at Saint Belford is you can purchase our planner, you can use it for 60 days. And if it's not for you, you can return it for us. We'll refund you in full and we'll pay for the shipping as well. So the reason we did this is, one, because no other planner company had a return policy anywhere near this. And two, customers had no reason to trust us from the beginning whatsoever. So we needed to really take a risk and put ourselves out there and say, hey, if you want to try this, please do. If you don't like it, it's all good. We'll return it. So yeah, man, it's the book. I think I first read it in was getting everything you can out of everything you've got or something like that. It's like Jay Abraham, and he really pushes that. And then Tim Ferriss pushes it, and yeah, you just hear it a lot. So I thought we'd give it a go. Initially it was 30 days. And then I said to Alex, hey, let's do 60 days. And she thought I was crazy.
Right.
She's looking at me smiling now. And yeah, it worked well. I mean, we had a few returns. That's totally fine. It's one of those things that it's a good customer experience, and you want to really be offering a good customer experience because it's all for making happier people at the end of the day, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
The thing about our product is you can't feel it and you can't touch it before you purchase it. It's not really available anywhere else. So, and I think half of falling in love with the product is like touching it, feeling it, and flicking through the pages, whether it's a book or, opening that computer or touching that phone and really having a hands-on experience. So if you can provide that to the customer, that's a really big selling point for them as well.
If you're listening to this and you're in that stage of having an idea but not much beyond that, Tom's advice is to set a deadline, have an accountability partner, and aim for slow but steady progress. There are multiple schools of thought on this particular issue, but here's Tom's view.
Make sure you're taking care of yourself as well. And like one thing, our motto and our ethos is self-care. So I don't understand how people can work 14, 18 hours a day. I don't think it's productive unless you're a freak like maybe Elon Musk. Maybe you can pull it off. But if you consistently put in 8-hour days, make sure you're getting your top priorities done. You're spending as little time as you can on social media and as little time as you can talking about your business and actually taking action on your business. I think you're going to succeed much faster.
Tom, thank you so much for the time. And my final question is, if someone were to start a business like yours, where would they be most likely to fail?
That's an awesome question. I think they'd be most likely to fail if they're chasing it for the wrong reasons. And what I mean by that is similar to what we were talking about before. So it was about, maybe I want to start a business because I want to quit my job, which is certainly the mindset that Alex and I had for our first businesses. But that was the reason we wanted to start the business. So the reason we're doing Saint Belford is because we found a gap in the market. We believe in our product. It was not because we wanted to quit our jobs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I truly believe that people could quit their jobs and make a successful business. But I think if your reasoning behind it is more powerful than that, then you would have a greater likelihood of succeeding. That's my hunch anyway.
Right. And I absolutely love that answer. It's more in the sense that there isn't a particular part of the business that you built that might make people fail. But if they are just doing it for the right reasons, then sort of all obstacles can be overcome. Yeah,
totally. And at the end of the day, you're going to fail because you either give up or you run out of money. Like I can't really see any two, like they're probably the main two reasons.
Right.
And so if you don't give up, then that's that one sorted. And then if you're smart with your money and you don't blow all of your seed funding or all of your savings on something that doesn't work, which is a likely possibility and could have happened to us, you can't discredit the amount of luck that you get as well, then yeah, you're good.
That was Tom Stanford from Saint Belford, creators of the Curation Planner. I really love this business because of how pertinent it is to today's business landscape. I mean, it's only 2 years old, and the fact that they've been able to build a multiple six-figure business in such short time is a testament to a couple of different things Tom mentioned in the interview. So with that said, here are my 3 biggest takeaways from my time chatting with Tom. Number 1 is to scratch your own itch. A lot of the time, I think entrepreneurs are so busy looking for problems to solve that they forget about the little frictions and problems in their lives, and that a solution to those problems are perfectly valid business ideas. Number 2, set a deadline. Tom and Alex had a true deadline in that if they wanted to launch for 2018, they had to be ready within months. I think sometimes we can assume failure before trying something, and not only are we frequently wrong about that, but we also end up never doing anything if that's the mentality we adopt. Setting a deadline forces action, and that's ultimately the greatest teacher. Number 3, minimize the risk for your customer when entering a competitive market. If it wasn't for Saint Belford's incredible return policy, not nearly as many people would have been willing to give them a chance. But because there was virtually no risk in giving their journal a try, they built a loyal customer base and were able to grow quite quickly after that. A big thanks once again to Tom Stanford for coming on to share his story, and you can be notified of all future episodes by subscribing to the podcast or heading to www.anmarshomepage.com/podcast and signing up for the email announcements every time a new episode comes out. My name is Anmar, and thanks for listening.